it's finally time. So we're giving it an hour out there and it's finally time to come on this short line. Now, match conditions, I'd stick with what I'm catching out there because the carp are having a bit of a chew and some of the better skimmers. I've not had any like what you call breams. Well, what is a bream? Some people call like £1.50 for a bream, and then others would call like a £4 bream and a £3 skimmer. What's all that about? But anyway, if I was in a match, I'd still be out there because there's plenty of bites to go at. But fast forwarding a bit, I've noticed the odd swirl coming up short. So what I've started to do the last sort of like 10 minutes is reduce the amount I'm feeding. I'm still double feeding, but I'm probably putting sort of like 12 to 15 in. Now, again, if I was in a match, I'd go straight there shallow because I know they're up in the water or through the water. But I want to show you sort of like what signs to look for. If you didn't see them swirling or anything like that or flashing, what signs you look for by fishing on the bottom. Obviously line bites, foul hook fish, missed bites, that's when you come up in the water. So I'm going to start off on the bottom. Now when I lay this rig in, I'm going to put it straight over where my feed's going in, and we're going to hold a tight line so that float's going to come through at an angle. Bearing in mind it's quite positive and it's only shallow, so we're soon going to get down to the bottom. I'm just going to put a single red maggot on to start with, just nicking it just to see what's in my peg pretty much. I don't want to go straight in with like double maggot or a cast or something like that. I just want to see what's in the peg. So ship out, hold that float right at my marker. Now you see I'm holding that tight line to my float. As it falls through, it's coming in on that angle. And I'm not going to feed as many casters around it. I'm still going to double feed, but not as many. Remember before when I was fishing, oof, we've had one straight away. Before when I was fishing that long line, I was feeding quite a few. Look at that. Lovely roaches, and that's what you can expect. You know, if you're getting one of them a chuck, you can do sort of 8, 10, 12 pound an hour of them, no problem at all. You know, while you're waiting for the bonus fish. I'm gonna have another go there. Yeah, sorry, coming back to the feeding, I was feeding a lot heavier before when I was fishing on that long line, but the reason I've calmed down a bit now is because I know these fish are coming up in the water. So same again, hold that tight line to it so you can watch that float come through and have some casters around it. Don't worry about accuracy wise, don't have to be accurate. I mean, I'll always make sure I'm lined up with a marker, but feeding wise, don't worry about it. So you see that time, oh, that bite, as soon as it's hit the bottom, he just fell off. That time what I'm looking for all the time, and that's why it's important that I'm using a carbon stem float. You see that tight line, I'm looking for signs through the water. It's a bit blustery, so it's blowing my rig around a little bit, and I'm looking for how quick I'm getting the bites. See, they're coming pretty much straight away. So obviously, you know, I'm happy with how I'm catching at the minute. This is lovely. But when they come sort of up shallow, we'll probably catch them a little bit quicker. But I mean, fish like that roach we've just had, or skimmers like that, you can do big weights of them in a short space of time. And if you can get them shorter, obviously we were catching pretty much the same size skimmer out there, but if you can get the same size fish shorter, obviously, you know, you're going to fish there in a match rather than fishing out longer, because it's just going to take you longer to do a weight because you're fishing a bit too far out. I mean, they're feeding nice and positive there. I got a bit giddy with the feed that first one then. But if I didn't see signs of swirling or I'm not getting liners or anything like that, then what I'd do, I'd probably, as I was doing before, I'd feed that little bit heavier to try and pin the fish down to the bottom. If I was getting sort of like a lot of lines and that, but really to do sort of like your big weights of fish, you want to ideally be drawing these fish up in the water. So we'll have another one on the bottom, and then I think we'll have a do shallow. I'm just going to reduce the feed again. So you see that time that float stayed up a bit then, so that was a fish swimming into it. See that? Oh, that seems a bit better. Oh, what we got here? Oh, they're a better skimmer or an hybrid. Oh, see, this is what we should have been catching long. It just shows you. Oh, look at that. You're not willing it to fall off like that carp were, are you? I bet you're not. Look at that, lovely skimmer. That's what we want. Yes! See, these fish, and this is the beauty of fishing like this, like we are doing, a non-selective weight. Look at them. Oh, proper weight builders. I'd quite happily catch them all day long. Absolutely awesome then. Right, so I said just before that one we were going to come up in the water. I think we'll stay down there just to see if there's some more of them snarling around, but by all means, fish like that, anything you can think of, will obviously feed quite happily up in the water. But it'd be pointless coming shallow yet if we just had something like that, and that come really quick. Normally you'd wait a little bit, but that come really quick then. So we can snare another one. So if it was, you know, obviously I've reduced the feed that I'm putting in now, and this is what me and Jerry, you know, we were talking about before, by sort of working out what the fish want. If it'd be that when I came shallow I didn't really catch that many, or wasn't getting bites, then what I'd do, I'd go back to how I was feeding before, quite heavy, so I was pinning them on the bottom rather than just feeding light like I'm doing now and trying to get them off the bottom. If they didn't really want to be there, and obviously I'm not going to force the fish to do something that they don't want to, because ultimately, you know, you've got to let the fish tell you what they want. And at the minute, you know, obviously with it not being too deep, it seems as though the fish are quite happily feeding positive on that bottom. So we'll have this next one and then we'll see what's what. I think I'm going to try it shallow though, just so I can show you. So I'm reducing the amount of cast I'm putting. See that then? That was a dink on the drop. It's a rod. It's bound to be on the drop then, that rod. So I don't know if you... Did you get that in then, Rich? That little dink on the drop? On it, mate, ain't you? On it. So that's what I mean about them fish coming up. All the while I'm looking for the signs what the fish are doing. Now obviously that one's come up in the water, so I'm going to have a quick do. If they are there, then we will catch them a lot quicker. So I'm going to go in with a maggot again. I'm not going to put a caster on just yet, but I'm going to hook it different. Now we've talked through this before, how all maggots fall. They always fall, you know, sort of flat on the side. So I'm going to fold it round. You getting in, Rich? Getting in. I'm going to fold that maggot round. And I'm going to hook it through the segment, so that it's falling how a maggot would fall anyway. It does make a difference, that. Definitely fools them bigger fish sometimes. So this rig's set at about sort of 2 foot, so half of the depth that we were fishing on that deck rig. Slap it over, you notice I've got them back shots on, so you can see how slow. Oh, look at that straight away. Only a little fish, but just shows you that's where they want to be. Now if I was carrying on catching these little tiny fish, then I'd change to, you know, a single or a double caster. Or if it was that, you know, I'd give it sort of 10-15 minutes of fishing this and I was still catching little tiny fish, then that tells me that they don't really want to be up in the water. Alright, there's fish there, but it might be that the bigger fish are below them, you know, in that slightly warmer water. So I won't know until I've had a good sort of 10 or 15 minutes on it. But at the minute, you know, it's not looking like them bigger fish want to be up. It's looking like the bigger fish are on the bottom. They've sort of like bullied their way in, and then the little fish are coming in to intercept the bait, obviously through the water. I'm going to give it this one last go on a maggot, and if I obviously catch a smaller fish, I'm going to change to a caster. And if I'm carrying on catching them smaller fish on the casters, then that's going to make me decision. I'm going to go on the bottom and just feed it that little bit heavier to pin them. I might even put a pot on and really zone the fish into where I'm fishing, which can work, you know, fantastically well. Still loose feed, because I don't think you can beat loose feeding for drawing fishing. Right, so now I want to put a caster on. Right, Rich, getting on this, mate. So it's important. You see around there? He's got it, he's got it, he's got it. You got it, Rich, you got it. So it's important when you're putting a caster on that you don't really deep hook it. You just want to nick it, and what you don't want to do is burst it. So fold it round. That's how I like to hook my caster. A little bit of skimmer slime on there, we'll get that off. That's how I want to hook my caster. I mean, obviously banded caster works particularly well, but it's all good and well just putting it straight on the hook, you know. So I'll have this out. What I'm going to do, I'm going to flick it a little bit past it, see if there's anything past our feed area. Again, holding a tight line, it should usually get bigger fish on caster. Might wait a little bit longer, but you normally pick up slightly better fish. So once it's settled, which is probably now, I'm going to feed again and slap that rig over. Don't just sit there and float watch when you're fishing through the water. You've got to be working at it all the time. So you can see that bite was a little bit longer coming on a caster. Alright, it's still a smaller fish, but I'm still going to have at least another sort of 10 minutes on them and see what's what. But by just restricting the amount of bait you're putting in, obviously I'm drawing them fish up. Might not be the right decision yet. I won't know until, you know, giving it a good sort of go. But at the minute, with having that decent skimmer on the bottom and still getting plenty of bites, literally as soon as it's settled I was getting a bite, then it might be that I just need to nip back down the bottom and stay there. It might be that, oh, it's big on my caster. It might be that the fish are feeding more confident because of the depth of water on the bottom. It's these little things, these little decisions you've got to make, and obviously you won't know until you sort of start fishing. So you see how I'm feeding first and then shipping out and laying the rig into it so that my bait's falling at the same speed. And then it's just a case of just keeping that bait going in little and often. So I'm not putting loads in, probably 12 to 15 casters, that's all. Once it's at the bottom of that fall, now I'll feed some more and put the rig into it. It's a lovely way of fishing. It's not sort of like proper summer shallow fishing where it's like little floats and, you know, heavier lines and pellets and all that. So you see that little dink then. It's a very subtle way of fishing through the water. It's brilliant. It's fell off. Oh dear it. So I'm going to speed things up again. I'm just have one more go, this shallow, and then I think what I'll do, I'll nip back on the bottom and I'm going to go to feeding more positive again, so sort of double feeding 40 or 50. So I think at the minute that was the right thing to do. There's a lot of fish there, but they're small. I want to try and target them bigger fish now. That was a little dink through the water. Feed, put it into it. Incidentally, obviously match conditions, I'm not doing it today, but match conditions, the swim out there, I'd be feeding that about every sort of 15 to 20 minutes on my 13 metre line. You've got to keep that bait going in. Oh, so see, we've missed sort of 3 bites there, one after another. So that tells me either it is very small fish or the fish are coming even shallower. I've not noticed any swirls or boils or anything since I've come on this line, so I'd imagine there'd be small fish. You see that presentation there, that's not what we want, where it's flicking around everything. It's got to be nice and still. See how it's coming through nice and natural like that. That's when you're going to get your bites. Usually just at the bottom of that fall. Like that. No. So you see it's still a small fish. So we give it, I mean I'm speeding things up, but match I'd not really be happy catching them. Now that I know there's sort of like some decent skimmers down there, I'd want to make sure I target them. And one of the ways I do that is to put a pot on. I'm still going to loose feed, but I'm going to put a pot on to really zone them fish in. So I have a big pot on there. I'm going to put double maggot on. Like so. So one through the fat end, one through the thin end. Pick out on that, Rich. You got it, mate, you got it, he's got it. And then, it's quite a big pot, so I'm going to sort of half fill that, casters. Tip them into where I'm fishing, but I'm still going to loose feed over the top. You just like, as I say, you're picking up on what the fish want on that day. I'm just going to put that bait right into it. I'm still going to loose feed over the top. If I was getting like lots of funny bites, false bites, I'd stop loose feeding until I'd hook one, then that's the only time I'd loose feed. See, that was up in the water, then that one. I'd make sure that I'm just using the bait through the pot to zone the fishing rather than sort of loose feeding. We know there's fish there now. So what I'll probably do is as soon as I've hooked a better fish, I'm going to give it loose feed rather than keeping that feed going in all the time. but it's just a lovely way of fishing. You're seeing how many like bites we're getting, and it's, you know, that's the beauty of using maggots and casters. They're just, everything swimming is going to eat them. It's a fantastic way of fishing. And obviously we've got that other swim out there, you know, which is a little bit more selective, where you can target your bigger fish. I don't know what Jay's doing. Jay's catching a few over there and all. But I mean, this for me is just awesome. So that's a bit bigger fish. I'm going to loose feed over the top of that. Do you see what I mean by putting that bait in? You're zoning the fish into exactly where you are. And then only loose feeding, once you've hooked a fish, it just instantly gets them fish back in the swim. Whoa, look at that for a roach! Yes, please! Oh, look at him. I think, Rich, we're going to end on that. Because you can leave me to go and catch 56 more of them, and then we can go and see what Jay's doing. Yes! Oh, look at that. Nice.